Final Fantasy is one of the longest-running video game franchises in history, having sold over 115 million copies of a great number of video games since the first title released in 1987 on the original Nintendo Entertainment System. And with the latest main series title coming to Xbox One and PlayStation 4 on November 29th, there's a huge history to cover and lots to know before you pick up the latest game, Final Fantasy 15, so let's get to the Geeksplaining. Final Fantasy was initially developed by Japanese software developer Square, responsible for the creation of a multitude of other successful and critically acclaimed games such as Romancing Saga, Breath of Fire, Chrono Trigger, Front Mission, Bushido Blade, Xenogears, Parasite Eve, Kingdom Hearts. Look, not all of these games may sound familiar to you, but to the rabid fans of Japanese RPGs, these titles bring up a flood of nostalgic emotion. Here's one for you. Bet you didn't know that Square even developed a Super Mario game. Today, though, the company is known as Square Enix, a merger that took place in 2003. In 2008, Square Enix purchased Taito, famous arcade company best known for Space Invaders, and eventually even purchased Eidos Interactive, who are known for some of console gaming's biggest franchises like Hitman, Deus Ex, Thief, and Tomb Raider. Look, to say that this company is no small player in the video games industry is a bit of an understatement. The Final Fantasy series has seen a new game bearing the title released annually. These games include spin-offs and sequels over all sorts of platforms beyond just home consoles, like mobile devices such as smartphones and dedicated mobile consoles. Even smartwatches have seen a Final Fantasy title released for them. All of this started with the first Final Fantasy game being considered by Square at the time to be their last title. The company was facing bankruptcy and wanted to release just one last Final Fantasy role-playing game before closing shop, hence the name. However, it was met with huge success and is now regarded among the most influential of role-playing games. Following that success, Square created Final Fantasy II, and despite the name, the game is not a sequel. Rather, it told an original story with all new characters, and since then, the most popular Final Fantasy titles are always the numbered ones. They have typically held the longest development cycles and include the largest development teams. When the company reached the 10th iteration of the series, they tried something new by releasing a sequel uncreatively called 10-2. Following that, the 11th entry was an online-only, massively multiplayer game. Unfortunately, both were met with critical and financial failure. Now, before Final Fantasy XII saw a return to form for the franchise, the damage had been done, as Square also attempted a release of a feature film completely CG animated, which turned out to be also a critical and financial failure. The movie, Final Fantasy The Spirits Within, featured voice work from James Woods, Donald Sutherland, and Alec Baldwin, with a purely science fiction-based story set in a far future world. This setting was a deviation from the high fantasy settings and fictional worlds seen in the games, and while it was applauded for its achievement in animation, featuring incredibly lifelike characters and scenes, it failed to find an audience, taking in only $85 million against a budget of $137 million. These financial setbacks did delay their acquisition by Enix, but thankfully it didn't sink the company. With Final Fantasy XIII, however, they tried once more to make a direct sequel called 13-2, and this time found success enough to warrant even a third one, thankfully not called 13-3, but rather Lightning Returns. This was named after the game's main character. Once again, they tried to enter the MMO market with Final Fantasy XIV, which was initially not very well received due to poor gameplay and visuals. However, it was quickly reworked and re-released, eventually going on to be praised for its game design, graphical fidelity, and really its overall fun. It actually still holds millions of active subscribers today. This brings us to Final Fantasy XV. Originally, it was titled Final Fantasy Versus 13 and was meant to be yet another game in the Final Fantasy 13 universe, beginning its development in 2006 as a PlayStation 3 exclusive title. It was in 2012 that we saw a big reveal by Square at that year's E3 with the rebranded title of Final Fantasy XV. Now, 10 years in the making, the game is finally seeing its release on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The game is just one part of Final Fantasy XV's expanded universe, which includes a new series of anime shorts titled Brotherhood and a feature-length, fully CGI animated film titled Kingsglaive. The game was initially headed by famed director Tetsuya Nomura, and the duties have since been transferred to Hajime Tabata during its long development time. Now, Nomura was an artist by trade and is credited as the lead designer for this game. He is still known, though, to his fans for his beautiful and distinctive visual style seen throughout many of the company's best games. Final Fantasy XV's game engine, its foundation and building block tools used to create the game itself, is called Luminous Studio. Like most Square Enix games, it was developed in-house. It was met with high critical acclaim when it was revealed as a tech demo in 2012. It is notable for its ability to render in real time character models at 100,000 polygons each. This is the same level of fidelity seen in their CG animated film Spirits Within. And it also features 150 individual bones per character body, just shy of the 200 or so found in you or I. This is no small feat. The game takes place in a fictional world known as Eos. You play as the young Prince Noctis Lucius Callum, who sets out on a quest to reclaim a magical crystal stolen from his homeland of Lucius by the Empire of Niflheim. The game has you set out on your epic quest with 3 supporting characters: Gladiolus, the muscle and bodyguard for the prince; Ignis, the brains and royal advisor; and Prompto, the comic relief and childhood friend. Together you strike out on a road trip in a fancy car called the Regalia, on an adventure full of fun and fishing and camping and camaraderie and somehow giant monster killing. All, of course, are necessary steps on the road to saving the world, I suppose. Look, it's all about the journey, right? This wonderful 100-hour-plus journey. This is par for the course of any RPG worth its salt. Early word is Final Fantasy XV is a massive digital world populated with interesting characters, fun encounters, and stunning visuals. In the meantime, you can actually download a prequel demo of the game, or go ahead and listen to some collaborative music by Florence and the Machine. And don't forget to warm up that VR headset, as a virtual trip to the world of Eos is forthcoming. No release date for that DLC has been given, but hopefully you'll get the chance to take your chocobo out for a jaunt before the end of the year. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe to this channel for more Geeksplaining. You can also find me at facebook.com/Geeksplaining, and this episode is presented as a podcast. Just search for Geeksplaining in iTunes or Google Play Music. Enjoy the game.